Jessa from WizKids.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here at
thank you
Origins
for having me.
2019. We got Dungeons and Dragons.
3 Dragon Ante Legendary Edition.
Legendary Edition.
Yes.
That's it. That's very important.
Yes, it is. So this game has actually been printed before.
Yeah.
3 Dragon Ante is a game inside the Dungeons and Dragons universe.
Yeah.
It's built into the RPG where it's something talked about when players are like in taverns on breaks from their quests. It's a gambling game in the universe, and so it was published at one time, and we've kind of taken it and now we're publishing a Legendary Edition.
Yeah.
It has more different things. It has different cards. It has cards with additional abilities.
Yeah.
Things like that.
So it is part of the roleplay D&D, or is it separate? It is.
I mean, it's not formally part of the D&D roleplay, but what it is you can use it as a supplement if you do want to actually play the game.
Wow.
When your characters are playing the game.
Yeah.
You now have that opportunity, or it can be played as a standalone game.
Perfect. So let us know, what is it about?
So the game is a series of gambits.
Yep.
It's a gambling game, so each player is going to start with a stack of gold.
Yep.
And they're going to start with 6 cards in their hand.
Yep.
Cards come in one of 3 categories. There's legendary dragons, who have powers that are passive. There's dragons who have just kind of regular powers that activate at certain times.
Yep.
And you have the mortals, who are not dragons, but who also have different abilities. So at the beginning of the game, each player is going to take a hand of 6 cards.
Yep.
And they're going to have 10 gold from the
Supply?
gold supply, yes. So players are going to place a card in front of them, face down, not face up. And they're going to, once everybody has chosen a card, they're all flipped face up at the same time. The player with the highest strength card gets to be the leader for the first round.
Yep.
And all other players have to pay a number of gold into the stakes that is equal to the strength of that card.
Right. Yeah, of course, because you can't just play the highest card. They have to be able to afford it.
Exactly.
Yep.
So if players play 2 ante cards that are tied at the beginning of the game, they don't count towards becoming the leader. So only the strongest untied cards become the leader. But otherwise, whatever the strongest card that was played, all players have to pay that amount of gold.
Okay, so the
into the stakes.
Yeah.
So say someone pays 11.
And then they tie with someone?
Then neither of them become the leader. It's the next card down that does not have a tie. So multiple ties can happen.
Okay, and do they still have to pay though?
Everyone still has to pay that amount of gold into the stakes.
Hard.
So that makes it a little bit more
very good, challenging.
Stressful.
Yeah, it's kind of like a strategy as well. I'm sure there's more deeper strategy into it.
Yes.
But sorry, continue.
No. It's okay. So beginning from the leader, each player is going to place a card into their flight.
Yep.
The beginning of their flight is the first card that they played as the anti-card, and then from there, each player plays to the right of their own anti-card.
Yep.
And when they play a card, its ability activates immediately.
Yep.
Some dragons are good and some dragons are evil, so that will affect certain abilities of certain cards. Like, for example, this one says, draw a card for each good dragon in your flight. Yep. So if it was over here, you would draw 2 cards, effectively. And then each player does that. They activate a power. If they play a legendary dragon. That power is passive, so it's not you don't do anything right at that second, but things will occur.
Ongoing.
So legendary dragons do have a power, and some of them are dragon gods. Dragon gods are what have the passive abilities, and then they'll have a power. Legendary dragons are also impacted by certain card abilities.
Yeah.
So if it's a dragon god, they have special powers. For example, this one says, as long as you have Bahamut, which is that dragon, and an evil dragon in your flight, you can't win the gambit.
Oh, yeah.
So when all players have played 3 cards into their flight, the round ends, and players will score the flights. The player who has the overall strongest flight wins the round and wins all of the gold that has been played in the stakes. If any player at any time is required to pay gold by a power and can't, they have to pay gold in the hole, which is they keep track of the amount of gold that they owe. Yep. And then once they have that gold, they pay it to the person. Okay. So it's not like they can just get out of paying all that extra gold if they don't have it. They do. They just have to wait. There are special flights that can occur. Yeah. And they do have different rewards. So some special flights can be made, for example, if you have 3 cards of the same strength or 3 cards of the same color. They do get special rewards for being played that way. But once the end of the round comes, players are going to score the flights. The player with the highest strength in their flight becomes the leader of the next round. Right. If there is a tie, then the leader from the previous round gets to be the leader for the next round. So again, a tie isn't necessarily particularly rewarding for you. Yeah. It's you want to be the player who has the highest untied total flight in the game. If at the end of any one round a player has no gold left, the game ends, and the player with the most gold wins. Oh, yep. Very simple win condition. Yeah. Easy to follow.
Very easy.
Yes.
So have you seen, so obviously I think I can just see for a D&D role player, they would just, when they need to play this game, they would play this game because, obviously role play, they've got like so many things addition to their role play now, and this is one of them.
It's definitely very immersive. Yeah. It adds so much to the immersion. I was looking for immersive. Of a D&D campaign. Yes. And absolutely. It's a good way to if you don't want to necessarily, you need a break from thinking of new story elements. Yeah. You can just sit and your characters can play a game of 3 Dragon Ante. Yeah. And just enjoy themselves.
And standalone as well, as you say.
Yes.
Which is good. So when is this game going to be available?
This game right now we're looking at sometime later in the fall. Yep. We don't have a solid release date yet, but that's what we're hoping for. Yep. So, but it definitely is coming.
And subscribe to your mailing list to get notified.
Yes, you can subscribe to the WizKids Insider News List, which has all of the latest updates. We also have social media. Yep. We have Twitter, Instagram. That username is WizKids Games. You can find us under that username on both. Yep. And then we're on Facebook as WizKids.
Sounds good.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.